And IIT Delhi, the from 68 to 73, the time 5 years that I spent there, it was very young
Yes.
and beautifully built with so many facilities and so many extracurricular activities. So I think that was a rare opportunity for one to experience them all. And for me, the choice between St. Stephen's or IIT Delhi. And I've been a Delhi person, boy all the way.
Yes.
So I never thought of going outside, and so at that point of time, I thought IIT Delhi had more appeal, and compared to pursuing a natural science or a pure science course at St. Stephen's, it made it easy for me to make it to IIM Ahmedabad, which was a very, very tough competition even in those days.
Yeah.
They used to take about 120 kids from across the country. Today they take about, IIM Ahmedabad, about 500 kids. In our time it was just about 120.
Yes.
And from there the career, the journey started. Remember that we joined on 4th of July 1968, and I went to the main building where at the reception we were given the startup kit, and we were shown around the campus,
Yeah.
a kind of walkthrough, and then brought to the hostel where I sort of checked in,
Yeah.
and that was a very exciting day. I'm meeting so many people, and you had young kids from all over the country coming there, and everybody wanting to prove that is better than the other. So
Yes.
very positively competitive environment,
Sure. Sure.
and the interaction very different. It was a departure from how we studied in IIT.
Sure.
To going to Ahmedabad, and curriculum were very different,
Yes.
and it developed some other aspects of personality which we had not cared for when we were at IIT. But we obviously owe a lot to the institution where we have studied. Okay, they have completely transformed our lives. It provided us a good launchpad in our professional journey. So I think we definitely owe a lot to the institution, whether it's IIT Delhi or IIM Ahmedabad,
Yes.
to them. And there are two ways you can do it. One is to build up bridges with the faculty and the students of the institutes, and secondly, take those students on a voluntary basis for giving training. IIT Delhi in those days was at the end of Delhi, RK Puram Sector 5.
Yeah.
That was virtually the end of the Delhi, and JNU was just coming up. And I remember that I was staying in Nilgiri hostel,
Yeah.
and from my window I used to look out, and there was just wilderness. You
Right.
could see jackals, rabbits, and other things.
Right.
And now IIT Delhi, has ended up being in the center of the town. So a lot of change has taken place in the general environment.
Yes.
And once in a while, we used to go to Connaught Place, go to Wanger's or go to other restaurants, have dinner there, or a couple of other Ashok Hotel.
Right.
They used to make a special offering in the evenings, and we did not spare that opportunity. So, but the nearest place for us at that time was the RK Puram Sector 5 market,
Sure.
or you go towards Hoskas Green Park.
Right.
That was the nearest spot.
Right. Hi, folks. Welcome to this episode of Del Se IIT Delhi podcast. Today we have the honor of sitting with a distinguished alumni of IIT Delhi, Mr. Ravi Uppal. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Ravi Uppal is a graduate of batch of 73, passed out from mechanical engineering, who pursued a degree from IIM Ahmedabad as an MBA, and then also pursued a management program from Wharton in 2005.
Yeah.
He has had a very illustrious career with the likes of Volvo. He's currently the chairman and managing director at Steel Infra Solutions Private Limited, which was SISCOR, and also worked with L&T, ABB, and Jindal Group as well.
Yeah.
With that sort of a portfolio, sir, that you've managed through your professional life, what is that one strand or one learning that you've carried from your days in IIT?
But there's so many things one carried from IIT Delhi, and I really sort of thank my fortunes that I had a chance to sort of study at IIT Delhi. When you get into IIT, you're just about 16 years old, and by the time you're a young man, and then you a fully grown adult by the time you graduate at the age of 21. So it's a massive transformation that you undergo when you're there. And I was a day scholar when I was attending school,
Yeah.
and then you move into the hostel environment where manage your things on a day-to-day basis on your own. So you do not have the support of your parents or anyone else.
Yes.
So I think if one learns to become independent, take
Yes.
your own decisions on a day-to-day basis, and that makes you a lot more mature and independent. I think that's one major transformation that takes place. And your problems that you have, you got to manage them on your own. And IIT Delhi, the from 68 to 73, the time 5 years that I spent there, it was very young
Yes.
and beautifully built with so many facilities and so many extracurricular activities. So I think that was a rare opportunity for one to experience them all. And I must admit that I don't think I would have still been a sort of day scholar or staying at home. I would have had the opportunity to experience life and all those facets that I did when I was in IIT Delhi.
So when was it and how was it when you realized that you got into IIT Delhi?
Well, that was one of the career options that I was pursuing.
Okay.
And it came as a good surprise that we got it. So for me, it was a choice between St. Stephen's or IIT Delhi. And I've been a Delhi person, boy all the way.
Yes.
So I never thought of going outside. And so at that point of time, I thought IIT Delhi had more appeal. And compared to pursuing a natural science or a pure science course at St. Stephen's.
And I would think that has turned out well for you.
Well, yeah, looking back, I'm happy with whatever I did.
Yeah.
So I never had any dissonance about this making a choice. And it has been a very wholesome experience being in IIT Delhi. And it became a kind of launchpad
Yeah.
in the rest of the career. So, among other things, I think it made it easy for me to make it to IIM Ahmedabad, which was a very, very tough competition even in those days.
Yeah.
They used to take about 120 kids from across the country. Today they take about, IIM Ahmedabad, about 500 kids. In our time, it was just about 120.
Yes.
And from there, the career, the journey started.
So do you remember your first day? How was it in IIT Delhi?
In IIT Delhi?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I remember that we joined on 4th of July 1968. And I went to the main building where at the reception we were given the startup kit, and we were shown around the campus,
Yeah.
a kind of walkthrough. And then, brought to the hostel where I sort of checked in.
Yeah.
And that was a very exciting day. I'm meeting so many people. So it took a little while to get to know everyone.
Yes.
And I must say, Delhi, the IIT was very well provided under the leadership which was there.
Sure.
And everything looked very magnificent. I used to go to extracurricular activity center.
Yeah.
We had abundant facilities, whether it's a squash, I used to play squash, and so many other things that one could pursue there.
Yes. So where was it that your time was most spent? Like, is it hostel, is it SAC, or is it your department?
Well, that we used to have our classes starting at about 8 o'clock in the morning, and a lunch break between 12 to 1. But it used to be very hectic because we had to walk back to the hostel to have our lunch, a quick lunch, and then walk back for a tutorial or a class in the main building.
Yes.
So that made it very hectic. And we used to finish for the day by about 4 o'clock. Then come back to the hostel, have my evening cup of tea, and then we used to play some sports.
Sure.
Yeah. So very hectic. And, IIT had provided a very competitive environment.
Sure.
And, you had young kids from all over the country coming there and everybody wanting to prove that is better than the other. So very positively competitive environment.
Sure.
Which, brings the best out of you. So I think that kind of the competition which was there is also enabled us to excel more in whatever we chose to do.
So it is said the first year is a great leveler of sorts, right? Because a lot of people, all toppers in their respective schools come together.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, the competition is obviously there. But a lot of people take a lot of pressure out of that as well, right? Not everyone sort of takes it the same way.
Yeah, well, the people, who came there came from diverse backgrounds,
Yes.
and from different schools across the country. So it was a very sort of heterogeneous group.
Yes.
And the people who came, let's say from Delhi or other states, which are city bred, they could take the pressure more easily.
Sure.
But for those who came from the states, they had a little more difficulty. But I think gradually everybody settled down.
Sure.
Initially, there were some portions, a part of it where things were taken differently by different people.
Sure.
But it was a leveling ground. Gradually, all became friends, and we
Yes.
took things in a stride.
So, what was the place that you used to hang out with your friends?
Wow, IIT Delhi had created a certain amount of academic pressure,
Mhm.
and routines were heavy. With the combination of lectures and the tutorials that you had, plus the surprise test that we used to have. I don't know if it is still practiced. So every Monday and Tuesday, you never know somebody has would give you a sort of surprise test.
Yeah.
So we had to always remain on our toes in order that we could do well.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of time was spent at the college tutorials, and in between, if you could save some time, then we would go to a ECA center, extracurricular activity center.
Right. And you mentioned that you used to run back to the hostel to have a lunch at the mess.
Oh yeah.
And was KLS not a thing then? It must have been. The KLS or some other hangout place that you frequent to eat.
Well, honestly, IIT Delhi in those days was at the end of Delhi. RK Puram Sector 5,
Yeah.
that was virtually the end of the Delhi, and JNU was just coming up.
Hmm.
And I remember that I was staying in Nilgiri hostel,
Yeah.
and from my window I used to say, look out, and there was just wilderness.
Right.
You could see jackals, rabbits, and other things.
Right.
And now IIT Delhi, has ended up being in the center of the town.
Yeah.
So a lot of change has taken place in the general environment.
Yes.
And once in a while, we used to go to Connaught Place and go to Wanger's or go to other restaurants, have dinner there, or a couple of other Ashok Hotel.
Right.
They used to make a special offering in the evenings, and we did not spare that opportunity. So, but the nearest place for us at that time was the RK Puram Sector 5 market,
Sure.
or you go towards Hoskas Green Park.
Right.
That was the nearest spot.
Right. So, how was the transition from first year to fourth year? I'm sure the priorities must have changed. And how about the outlook of life and the professional sphere?
Well, first 2 years were common years,
Yeah.
were the common curriculum for all the disciplines.
Yeah.
Only from third, fourth, and fifth year,
Yes.
you were pursuing your own
Yes.
discipline.
Yes.
So I think first 2 years there was general exposure to science and mathematics, other things, quantitative tools, and from third year you went into your own discipline, and but I think everything went pretty smoothly.
Sure.
And in the fourth and fifth year, we used to go for vocational training
Yeah.
to an industry,
Right.
and fifth year we used to have a project taken, as an individual or a group of two. But I think the campus provided a very good place where we could also play sports. I used to play occasionally tennis,
Yeah.
squash more often. Also handed on the snooker table.
Yes.
So it was very small. The campus total student community size was about 1,200.
Yes.
All total, all 5 years, and the MTech guys put together.
Yeah.
And obviously, the campus has grown enormously, and the size of the student community has also increased enormously. So I was there a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
and it looks so very different compared to what we used to see.
For sure. For sure. What sort of transition as an now alumni of the college and who has frequented IITs like different points of time?
Yeah.
How do you think it has evolved? What are your views on it? Like the campus, the vibe?
I, for one, feel the IIT Delhi has a very limited land mass.
Hmm.
And I think the student community size has grown very rapidly,
Yes.
and it is in multiples. So today you may be having about 4 to 4,500 students from all disciplines put together, or even you're saying more than that. So I had underestimated. So I think you feel a certain amount of congestion on the campus.
Sure.
and that has also left limited room for extracurricular activities to grow. Although you have set up some new auditoriums and some other activity centers, which is good.
Yes.
But I think ID Delhi needed more land than what they have today.
Sure, sir. So obviously there is now the Jhajjar and Sonipat campus is coming up, but obviously they are like outside the city, the main city. And as you mentioned, the Mitchell Sports Complex, SAC has been upgraded for a bit, and the LHC has come up, where you mentioned that these new lecture halls are
Yeah.
there. What do you think is the way forward for students and the institution to maybe keep producing the people of probably your career? My bad. Your caliber. I'm so sorry.
The IITs provide a very competitive environment.
Yes.
I mean, today when I read about how the entrance examinations are being held, the size of of number of students who are participating to take the preliminary test and the final test,
Yes.
is a lot more severe than it was in our time. So I remember that IITs, the entrance examination at that time, we had about 150,000 students from across the country who were participating, and in all the five institutes, we used to have only five
Yes.
then,
Yes.
they were taking about 1,200 students only. So, and now you know how many multiples it has grown.
Yes.
So competition become a lot more severe. It has become a part of everyone's aspiration who's graduating from school.
Yes.
So that is one part. So it's obviously also attracting people who are very talented,
Yeah.
and very ambitious. And the boys and girls, it was largely the boys'
Yes.
institute in our times.
Yes.
And now, the gender mix has changed in a very positive way. I believe that as many as 25 to 30% students are females now, which I think is a very good thing, giving opportunity to every section of society. And but there's one thing that I notice, I think they need to upgrade their facilities and their labs and other research facilities.
Sure, sir.
If they need to activate their interaction with the industry, and it is one thing that you teach the students in a class and they pick it up,
Yes.
but if they can have actively engage
Yes.
even during the 4 years that they spend with the industry, I think it will make their perspective richer
Sure.
and also give them more valuable learnings.
Do you want to opine on the trend towards people taking up IT, computer sciences, more than the core streams?
Yeah, well, IT and the computer courses, I really gained a lot in popularity,
Yes.
especially between the 90s and earlier part of this decade. So the priorities have changed. In our time, we had only five disciplines: the mechanical, electrical, civil, textile, and chemical.
Yeah.
But now you have many more disciplines, including the pure sciences, graduation, post-graduation, and that management courses, etc. So, which of course is healthy.
Yes.
So I think the curriculum can go on in the
Sure.
way make it richer, but I think they need to improve the facilities at ground level. And I had gone to see the mechanical engineering lab some years ago,
Yes.
and I thought there was a lot of room for them to make improvements
Sure. Sure.
and improve their interaction with the industry, because the Indian industry has also become very modern,
Yes.
and they also are exposed to the global competition.
Yes.
So I think if the students can visit those industries, it will enrich their learning.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's my personal opinion.
Sir, I would like to take this opportunity to invite you to campus and probably have some conversations about what your probably vision is and what you think could be done better. We obviously have a large alumni base who come from varied and very rich backgrounds in terms of their reach, their perspectives, their worldview. But coming to a perspective of a student, what prompted you to take up to pursue management right after your graduation?
Yeah.
And how do you think is it different from a person who's choosing that stream now?
Well, when we graduated from IIT Delhi, there were two options.
Yeah.
I would say even three.
Okay.
One was to go to the industry, take a job.
Yeah.
Second was to go to one of the management institutes, pursue your MBA program.
Yes.
And third was to go abroad. So that's the third option I've said. And I had got into Stanford, to do my MS program, and then I got this IIM Ahmedabad, which was also very sought after that time. So and the third was a job that I had got from after I graduated from there.
Yes.
So job was not a priority at all. I wanted to put on more value, and so therefore I went for IIM Ahmedabad. I could have gone to Stanford, but then I had a tragedy in my family. One of my close relatives, who was working in Berkeley, he had passed away, a young guy. So therefore, there was so much resistance at home, and nobody will let you go.
Yeah.
That was in December 1972, and I was to go in 1973.
Yeah.
So this was no go. So IIM Ahmedabad was a very appealing option.
Yeah.
And I must be very candid to tell you that just because we thought that you go through management education, your career prospects improve, and before you went to IIM Ahmedabad, we did not quite know what all things we are going to learn. We know it's a good premium institution whose course curriculum is along the lines of Harvard Business School.
Sure.
But that was enough appeal. But having gone there, I thought it was a very fulfilling experience. We were all very. I got two types of students who were coming to IIM Ahmedabad. They were the engineers community was dominated by guys from IIT, from Chennai to Delhi.
Yes.
They were there, and then Stephens and Presidency College here and there.
Yes.
And they were basically science students and economic students.
Right.
So we realized that the IIT students that we had inclination towards only quantitative subjects.
Right.
Whether it's finance or anything to do with quantitative tools. Whereas, the students who were coming from non-engineering background, they were more inclined towards other sciences.
Right.
And I thought so gradually we realized the other part is just as important, but you become a good, competent person when you join the industry. So that was an eye-opener, And I think 2 years at IIM Ahmedabad, we had a chance to meet some of the most eminent faculty members. And the interesting thing is there were only 120 students, in each year.
Yeah.
And the teacher community was about 100 plus, which was there. So teacher to student ratio was very healthy.
Yeah.
And they knew each other very personally. And we had people like Ravi John Mathai and C. Rangarajan, who became the governor of Reserve Bank of India. And Mr. S.C. Kuchel and Prakash Tandon of Hindustan Lever, a lot of very good faculty members, and the interaction very different. It was a departure from how we studied in IIT.
Sure.
To going to Ahmedabad, and curriculum were very different.
Yes.
And it developed some other aspects of personality which we had not cared for when we were at IIT.
So, sir, do you think is it still a prevalent issue that you might see in students right now, to not have a more rounded personality, or what can they do better?
I do not know the exact curriculum of education at IITs now.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not updated, so it's very difficult for me to make a comparison of what is it they are doing and what is it they can do better.
Sure.
But I think in our time, first 2 years, we were taught humanities and sociology, but in a very limited way. But all of us are very inclined towards quantitative tools,
Makes sense.
And but I think that it is very important to develop the personality of the students, covering all aspects, not a pure subjects of your own discipline.
Sure.
So I think that's one thing, and I think what I find in IIT is that they're all getting ready that once they graduate, they must go abroad. A lot of them want to go abroad. But I think the quality of education in India has also improved dramatically.
Sure.
And there's so much that they can do. One of the things I like to highlight that when we were graduating, so we said, pursue academics further up, MTech, PhDs, or you go for a job, one of these two. But what you see now, which is very positive, that a lot of people, a lot of students are thinking of becoming entrepreneurs,
Yes.
and they're very innovative.
Yes.
I think that this is a change for the positive, the mindset. Many students are not thinking in terms of just looking for a job or just a MTech PhD program, but they're coming with ideas because you see so many entrepreneurs who have come from IITs now,
Yes.
and they're very young. They're in 30s or early 40s, and I think that's a very positive change, and the mindset has changed. And I saw the same thing about students graduating from Ahmedabad.
Yes.
So they're not typically wanted to go to banks or multinationals, but that's not the case anymore.
Yes.
Very healthy change, very positive change.
But one aspect of all this is the times are constantly changing now. The landscape is constantly changing as well for both entrepreneurship, both academia, as well as in the industry. What is it one skill that you would advise students to sharpen to navigate these challenges?
But I think in the life, what is important looking back, I think you have to work with the passion. You have to work with the ownership of things
Sure.
and do what you think you enjoy doing it. I
Right.
think that's important.
Right.
And one trait, of course, is that for any success that you want to get for yourself in life, it's important that you got to be very focused and very hardworking. So that is good for all time. It was true then; it's true till today.
Sure.
So, and I think there are no set rules, there are no formulas. I think everybody has to go after what his heart tells him to do, and that's because the heart gives you passion,
Sure.
and the head gives you good thinking to frame your strategy. So head and heart must work in combination.
Yes.
Yeah.
And coming to the matters of heart, so you have also contributed a lot by giving back. You have set up scholarships.
Yeah.
You have set up other organizations. I was reading
Yeah.
where you also have a sense of giving back. Please elaborate on that thought, sir, because there are a lot of people who have a lot to give back, who have the passion as well. One is, how do you sort of find your own ways to give back, and what is it that drives you to give back?
Well, we obviously owe a lot to the institution where we have studied. Okay, they have completely transformed our lives. It provided us a good launchpad in our professional journey. So I think we definitely owe a lot to the institution, whether it's IIT Delhi, IIM Ahmedabad,
Yes.
to them. And there are two ways you can do it. One is to build up bridges with the faculty and the students of the institutes.
Yes.
And secondly, take those students on a voluntary basis for giving training. When I was in IIT, ABB, so we used to take students regularly for ABB's factories. And the same thing I did in Volvo.
Right.
And picked up from IIT Delhi, we used to pick up 4 to 5 students every year and give them education because institutions like ABB, Siemens, and Volvo,
Yes.
they're world-class companies.
Sure.
And so back in your own country, if you get access to now, what's the latest which is happening in their respective domains, I think that itself is a process of education. And I had the opportunity of setting up the power electronic chair in IIT Delhi, and because ABB, my company at that time, was market leader in power electronics, and we had set it up, and a matter of a lot of gratification that we could do something.
Yeah.
So but I still remain firm in saying we could do a lot more.
Right.
Second is, of course, contributing to the corpus, development corpus of the colleges monetarily.
Yes.
Like we had our 50th year, get together, alumni get together
Yes.
some months ago,
Yes.
and we all came together. First, we were very happy that we could all come together, but we did realize, on a serious note, that a lot more needs to be done. By way of building the infrastructure of the college.
Yes.
That if you just depend on government supporting it, then that's not enough. I think those who have the means to support,
Yeah.
they must come forward, and we have now set up a corpus and everybody on a voluntary basis contributing to that,
Yes.
and we will be sort of making this contribution. But on my own engagement, because I was with the ABB, Siemens, Volvo, I remained pretty active with IIT Delhi by training the students.
Right.
I think that was important, and it was a matter of great happiness for me.
So, sir, as you mentioned, those are not the only ways that you give back. I think your life as a corporate leader itself is like is something to look up to. So, in that manner, what is the difference between the Indian corporate scene versus the scene abroad? Since you have worked in both huge organizations abroad
Yeah.
and in India, how does one navigate that?
Well, the Indian industry has undergone a sea change now. From when we started the career way back in '75 to
Yes.
what it is today. Indian companies have become much larger,
Yes.
and the sectors they have entered now are not the ones that which used to exist then.
Yes.
So there are many new sectors which are evolved. R&D activity has really picked up. Indian companies have started investing in R&D. Earlier it used to be a very cosmetic thing. So it was more production focused or more marketing focused. But now that we see whether it's a pharma companies, any petrochemicals or any other, people have started doing development. For example, even if you look at automotive industry in India,
Yes.
it has really come to a completely new scale, and it started doing a lot of product development, and they're exporting a lot. So they have a lot more exposure abroad.
Yeah.
That I remember that when I was the managing director of JSPL, who were manufacturing steel.
Yes.
So it was a matter of great pleasure for us and an honor that we could do reverse trade, which means that we were exporting to Germany
Yes.
some of the very high grade plates.
Right.
And historically, we always used to import from Germany, France, and China and Japan
Yes.
the special grades of steel, but it all got reversed.
Yes.
I think that this momentum is picking up. People today in India are a lot more confident of doing things here on the home pitch than to keep depending on the imports from outside.
Right.
So we became more self-reliant. That's what our Prime Minister also keeps saying, that the Make in India.
Yes.
Make in India. I think that campaign has had its impact, and India is coming to a state of maturity.
Sure.
So we want to be on our own feet, and we are now the fifth largest economy in the world. And if the predictions come true, in about another 5-6 years, we should be in position number 3.
So the role of alumni, the role of institution, and the role of students who are currently in IIT Delhi. What is that one thing you think is very necessary for all these to sort of thrive together and actually contribute to that vision?
Well, I think there is more bonding between the college alumni and the institution.
Right.
In which through well-organized forums, they should be invited to come, and participate. Also, in terms of the feedback they give, what are the things that students should be more exposed to, so that they become of direct relevance when they come into industry. So the bridges should be built. It is already there, but I think it can take more teeth, and rather than sort of coming over, making minutes of what has got discussed. Question: how much do you implement?
Sure.
See, there's no shortage of funds. Alumni from these institutions have done really well, and I think they have enough that they can contribute to improve the material being of the institution. That's number one, and also use modern techniques to give the instruction to students. That's also important. So I think the institutions can give in the success of students. I think they play a role up to 30%, and 70% the students have to help their own case. Because today, in terms of access to information, it's much easier, compared to what it was when we had studied at the institute.
Right.
So that has also facilitated. So online, you can study most of the things sitting in your hostel room. We had to go to the library for picking up the reference books.
Yes.
So learning is facilitated in today's environment.
So this format is called Dil Se IIT Delhi podcast, right? And is there something that you reflect back and say to the students, Dil Se? That's your camera.
Yeah. Well, I think the IITs are a very fine institution, It provide a very wonderful environment for them to learn and also to benchmark against the global best which are available. And IITs have made a big name for themselves both at home here and as well as abroad. I think all the students, they must use full opportunity of being in the institution. Use every minute of your time, both in terms of learning as well as extracurricular activities, because both of them are equally important for the development of the students into wholesome personalities. So work with passion, and do what you do best. Don't come think that you come to IIT, it becomes a kind of passport for you to success. I think that is still has to be earned. And the new trend of entrepreneurship which has come, and the young graduates doing that, I think that that must be pursued. And becoming an entrepreneur is one great option. I set up my own company at a very late stage of my life, but I thought how much excitement it is to set up your own enterprise. You cannot expect that once you set up an enterprise, it will be an automatic success. You may have to go through, rough and tough, but finally you will emerge very strong. There are dime a dozen examples of people who graduated from IIT Delhi who have become very successful entrepreneurs, to take inspiration from that and march forward. And we have a lot of opportunities in India now. There was a time we thought going to US or other countries is where we can again best utilize our potential. I think that's not the case. Here in India itself, there are excellent opportunities which are available, and people have become unicorns by the young boys by really applying themselves to the new ideas. India is in a digital age. Our biggest blessing right now is that the digital age has dawned. When there was the hardware age, at that time India had limited resources. We couldn't grow that much. But now that barrier has been transcended. We have to make sure in the digital age, we run faster than any other country can do, and we are doing it. Mind you, you can see how India's digital systems are being emulated by the likes of Germany and Japan. So that should tell us, that should inspire into us a lot of confidence, and we are going to make it big, and you will all be part of India's story, making to the third largest economy of the world.
Very inspiring words, sir. And I'm sure the students who are listening to this podcast right now would take a lot and take a lot of inspiration from your journey. Thank you for taking out the time to speak with us.
No, it was a great pleasure to speak to you. I always enjoy meeting young people. There's always something to learn from them. So, even in my own company, I always make it a point to invite young engineers for a lunch,
Yeah.
or a cup of coffee, because there's so much to learn from them.
So we look forward to having more interactions back in campus.
Yeah, sure. And we can come and share our experience. What are the lessons, what are the learnings as we went through these cycle of life.
Yes, please.
And once again, my best wishes, my blessings to our young ones. And I can tell you, you are entering a professional life at a time when the opportunities really galore. When we graduated, we didn't have those many opportunities, but you're fortunate that there's a big dawn of opportunities in India, and it's boundless. It's a question of what is it you want to get and what is it you want to grab.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.